Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the reuse and distribution of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for government and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. This is episode 55, which I think I called War on Freedom or something.
55.
Yeah, we're getting old, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
we are getting so old that I had somebody message me earlier today asking for advice on their podcast.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Because we're professional.
I was just going to say, we're like the most unprofessional podcast on the internet, and you want advice from us? Hey, I mean, we must be doing something right on accident.
if nothing else,
Holy fuck,
nothing else, we're entertaining.
Yeah,
Or
well,
if
exactly.
nothing else, we entertain ourselves. That's all we really care about.
I think it translates, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Must
Dude,
resonate
We don't
with
take ourselves
you
somebody.
said
so
something
seriously.
right on accident.
Well, yeah, that was the whole point when we created this show, was to have fun and talk about anarchy. So that's what it is. This is a hangout that we record about anarchy.
Right.
In
Right.
that order.
If you can imagine it, we're just sitting around a campfire together, only like digitally, and everybody's a little bit lit, maybe a tad loaded. We don't know.
I'm all jacked up
Maybe.
on sweet tea.
Maybe.
Hey, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'm gonna go spider monkey on you.
Mountain Dew and
I got-
Doritos.
I got sweet tea and Thin Mints in my system. Woo!
Fucking.
Don't
Living
talk to me
wildly.
about Thin Mints. I've been doing keto. I'm
Oh,
about to fucking kill
Oh.
myself.
oh my God! That somebody sent an email to us all at my work saying like, "Hey, I got Girl Scout cookies," and they had pictures of them, and I'm like, "Why'd you have to do that to me? Why? Why?"
You guys,
You sons
I
of
was
bitches.
talking about this on a thread of mine the other day. We went to the movies last weekend. They were set up right next to the fucking snack counter inside the movie theater.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They fucking hustle, dude. They don't play.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I was like, well, I mean, so the
Girl
theater
Scouts are cutthroat.
the theater's letting them be here, obviously, or they wouldn't be here. So how is this going to affect the theater's no outside food policy if I like stick a sleeve of Thin Mints in my bra and smuggle it into the theater?
Hey, a $2 box of Thin Mints is a hell of a lot cheaper than a $9 box of Junior Mints inside.
Hell yeah!
Or a
Jeez.
$13 popcorn
$2.
or
They're
a
selling them for
$47
$4.
soda. Well, you
Wait.
guys are living in the wrong place then.
I was gonna say, apparently,
Is the
what the hell?
lacrosse hustling us?
I think so. I think the lacrosse Girl Scouts are really on the hustle here.
That's
How is
gangster.
that?
That's
I mean, I applaud their entrepreneurial spirit, but damn it.
Capitalistic
Only
fuck, you're still gonna buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna buy those peanut butter cookies because they are amazing. But nonetheless, I am going to look at that little girl and go, "How do you sleep at night?" As I
Right.
hand her
Right.
my-
as I shove 3 fucking Samoans in my mouth. At
Well,
the
you guys,
really-
you guys saw
they
you guys
really
saw
throw
the
you-
you guys saw the article about the girl who put the pictures of Jason Momoa on the box
Momoa?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and sold like 2,500 boxes in a week.
I bet.
Fantastic.
Well,
Although,
wasn't there-
was that
Yeah,
one
a few
article
years ago.
where the girls had set up right outside a pot
A
dispensary?
pot shop,
Yeah.
a pot shop.
Yeah.
service.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And made like
in
just an
Denver.
obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, see, they
Yeah.
throw you a curveball because they
They're
dress up
smart.
with those like communist berets and shit and like their sashes.
And their little
And then,
French
and then they charge
braids and-
they charge capitalist prices. It's like
Yeah.
We were confused.
you don't know
by
where.
all
Yeah,
this.
they throw you to fuck off. You think they're like serving their cause for the greater good and shit, but they're really fucking.
That's what
They
that's
cut
what
your
it is.
throat.
That's what it is. Is that they confuse you with that, and it takes your senses away, and then your
Yep.
primary or your
You guys, these are like deep state tactics. Like this is
I'm telling you.
confirmation of the Illuminati right
yeah,
here.
and then your
Psychological
your
warfare.
primal
Yeah.
instinct of desire and hunger kick in, and override everything else.
I'm pretty
by
sure
the-
you're hustling me, but boy,
You know
I
what?
could use.
You know what I think they're
Worst
doing too?
Best
I-
best shell game ever.
I used to work at a little. I used to work at like a little espresso stand inside a building, like briefly. And one of the things that we did was we had like a one of those scent warmers, and we had like cinnamon and chocolate flavor like scents in it, and we put a little fan on it so it would blow all through the building and make people want to come and buy the coffee.
That's just rigging the game right there.
Yeah,
I swear that Girl Scouts do that because every time I see them, I can smell Thin Mints. Or I could be having a stroke.
It's like I know that box is fucking sealed and it's wrapped in plastic. Like, how the fuck can I smell that right now?
Yeah, how is it possible?
They have a little fucking essential oils warmer back there with a fucking
mounted under the table
with a proprietary Girl Scout cookie blend. And they got one little girl, the youngest girl in the tree, sitting back there with a fan doing this shit behind it.
Yep. Tara says they're training for future CIA ops or the mob.
Yeah. Definitely.
Would not surprise me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they've already infiltrated the fucking Boy Scouts. They have all Girl Scout troop now.
I'll tell you, once these Girl Scouts hit the CIA, there's going to be no more need for waterboarding. They have much more advanced ways of getting inside your fucking head.
They're just going to be waving. Like, you want this Samoa? It's right here.
Yeah, right.
All you got to do all you gotta do is tell me what I want to know.
They're gonna dangle it on like fucking fishing line and shit above you, like right above your face.
Who does number 2 work for?
Yeah. Like they'll have you strapped down to a fucking gurney, like having that shit just like pendulum style, just brushing across your lips.
Thank you, honey.
Can you imagine like the merit badges all on the wall at Langley?
Oh my god! I hear that Langley already has something very similar to that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you got the wall of stars, and you imagine the wall and it's just merit badges.
Oh my god!
Going to offices in the Pentagon and people have like half charred sashes.
You realize
Jason is going to have to change the description of this show and put in like Girl Scouts working for the CIA as one of the topics we discuss.
Yeah, right.
We're going to get thank you notes, by the way, from the CIA, because I'm sure all the analysts are listening right now. So
no, they're not. One of them just brought me in ice water.
Okay, not all of them. Some of them. But no, we're going to get thank you notes because now they've just changed their entire theory on interrogation.
Right.
Tactics. And it's going to work.
Yep.
See, so you're welcome, Stanley, the guy who's watching me. You're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome, NSA guy. Jeez. Those fucking lazy bastards always getting all this wisdom from us.
Well, yeah.
Never giving back.
It's like the Fourth Reich's Hitler Youth, you know what I mean? Only in America.
God.
The Hitler Juniors.
I earned my carpentry badge by making a box for this guy.
I'm telling you, the Hitler Youth just isn't going to happen again because there aren't enough clean-cut kids left on the fucking planet.
Especially not in Germany. I've been there, man. I'm telling you. No. Are you kidding? Are you aware of who John Thompson is? That is never happening again.
You have to change it from the Hitler Youth to the Hotler Youth so it doesn't like coincide.
Right.
Their uniforms will be black leather pants.
At least youth is gender neutral, you guys.
Well, that's true.
This is true.
It's a little ageist, but it's gender neutral.
I self-identify as not giving a fuck.
Yeah, except considering Germany, like the teaching kids how to torture is really kind of considered sex ed now. So, would you like to learn how to torture the people?
Oh my god, we're all going to hell.
Germans are fucking out there, man.
Yeah, they are. I spent like a month over there between my junior and senior year of high school. And yeah, they're they're next level.
Try going to Nuremberg for a Rammstein concert. Oh my.
Kevin lived there for 3 years. He was stationed there at Ramstein Air Force Base. and or right next to there, anyways, right near there.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, my stepson, our oldest, was born there 17 years ago.
No shit.
So, yeah, he's a dual citizen. He's a German citizen and a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah. But anybody born within the borders of Germany gets citizenship, even though he was on U.S. soil at the time.
Technically, that was not within the borders of Germany.
Right, but I mean, like inside their imaginary line, regardless of whether it's German soil or not. So
he is not an illegal alien if he goes.
Right.
So
he's got a place where he can flee, but there's extradition treaties and shit. So.
Yeah.
Well, and it's Germany. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of arbitrary lines of Hitler Youth, boy 11 arrested after refusing to recite the racist Pledge of Allegiance.
Good segue, Jason.
Nice.
Yes, it was.
That was masterful.
We're seeing what you're doing here.
Yeah.
No, we did ask for advice.
Well, if anybody wants evidence of the tie-in there, you can look up the Bellamy Salute, the guy that wrote the fucking Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah.
I pledge allegiance. That shit. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, it used to be that until like World War II happened.
Yeah.
And
the guy that wrote the Pledge of Allegiance did it so that like it was they would like essentially pledge fealty to the state.
Yeah,
over like family and everything else.
The American National Socialist Party. I mean,
National Socialist. That sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
So, an 11-year-old boy was arrested at school following his refusal to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and allegedly threatening his teacher. Well, if you yelled at me, I yelled at you too. July 4th, an 11-year-old student at Lawton Childs Middle School in Lakeland, Florida, was asked, along with his classmates, to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Instead, the boy told his substitute teacher that the American flag is racist against black people.
Well, I don't agree with that, but that still doesn't mean you have to stand.
That arbitrary arrangement of colors is racist. It's oppressing me.
Yeah.
The teacher recapped everything in a handwritten statement to the district. Quote, "Why, if it was so bad here, he did not go to another place to live," she reportedly told him. And the boy responded with, "They brought me here."
Whoa.
She said, quote, "Well, you can always go back because I came here from Cuba, and the day I feel I'm not welcome here anymore, I could find another place to live. Then I had to call the office because I did not want to continue dealing with him."
Huh.
The Lakeland Police Department tells Yahoo Lifestyle it can't release public records of juvenile misdemeanor arrest, but reports the boy was apprehended by a school resource officer because he wouldn't follow directions, threatened the teacher with violence, and said that the officer and principal should be fired.
Yeah, his threatening with violence is probably "I'll kick your ass."
Now, I'm assuming that this kid is probably black.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, he said they brought me here.
Right.
And like the only way he's going to adopt that kind of mentality is if he learned that from his parents.
Right.
Because he's not going to know that at that age. But nobody brought him here. He was born here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on.
It's a mental culture, yeah.
Somebody brought my ancestor and their DNA here at one point in time.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly, we assume, because I probably haven't done any of the actual research to verify.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that
Right.
means I'm not really from here, even though the last 20 generations of my family has been here.
What makes her think that saying, "Well, then go back to where you're from," is going to do anything? He's 11. He can't.
Yeah, like, that would have been the proper response is, "Bitch, I'm 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you go where you came from? Oh, that's right. You came here on a raft made out of empty milk jugs.
Yeah, my response would have been, "Oh, that's right. You came from Cuba, which is a place that has like mandatory flag worship. This should sound familiar."
Yeah, right.
Yeah. A Polk County Public Schools public relations specialist tells Yahoo that the students are not required to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. The district handbook states that kids can opt out, quote, upon written authorization from a parent.
No, bullshit. That doesn't even line up with a SCOTUS ruling, 1969, Tinker versus Des Moines, the Supreme Court ruled that students do not check their right to free speech at the schoolhouse gate. That's a direct quote from the majority opinion.
But that's what the thing said. That's what it just said.
Right, but but with a written parent's permission is not what that says. It says, no, I get to at any time decide I'm going to exercise my right to freedom of expression because since school, their reasoning was because school was mandatory and they were requiring you to go, that
and
they
because
couldn't
it's a government fucking institution.
Yeah, so they can't restrict the right to free speech. So even under United States law and jurisprudence, you're not allowed in a school to require someone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance because of this thing that allegedly the American flag stands for, which is called the First fucking Amendment. Yeah. So
I don't care why the kid did what he did. And you know what? It's the same thing with everything. I don't fucking care what your beef is. I don't care if you're wrong. You have a fucking right to be wrong. You have a right to be mistaken. You have a right to be correct in your ability to not move your body and your mouth and your vocal cords how someone else demands you to. You know? I mean, it doesn't matter what you're fucking saying. You have an absolute right to say it.
Yeah.
And you have an absolute right to abstain from anything you don't believe in doing.
Our founding fathers,
I'm definitely not for mandatory flag worship, and I mean, like, to have to push it to that length where you're, you know, telling somebody to move somewhere else if they don't like where they live or whatever, you know.
Like, why'd you go to Somalia?
Yeah, well, that's, you know, that's the argument we always hear, but it's like, maybe there are injustices. I may not have agreed with what the kid was like trying to say because, you know, things have improved significantly for people that are minorities in the United States. But at the same time, it's like, you know, there are injustices that happen. So it's like you can't just brush over them and be like,
we happen to everyone.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But at the same time, but like, you know, that's the whole thing. That's the grievance of like people like us that were like, yo, there's like injustices going on. Like we want to, you know, like try and address them.
Right.
You know, by decentralizing things so that there isn't so much fucking authority and power in the hands of fucking corrupt criminal cocksuckers.
Right.
And
well, if
we get told to fucking move somewhere else if we don't like it, instead of being like, okay, well then like what can we do to work together to make this a fucking better place? Like that should be what you know the argument is, instead of being like, you know.
And the point that I
want to make things better because they are, through things like the Pledge of Allegiance, indoctrinated into the system, right? People don't want the system to change because they're brainwashed into it. Like they're literally plugged. It's like the Matrix. They're literally plugged into.
There's a reason that we use that analogy a lot.
Yeah, an alarming amount of how it upsets me just how appropriate it continuously is.
Right,
it's scary. It's scary when you really sit and think about it.
It's like if the Matrix and Idiocracy had a fucking baby together, but they were brother and sister, so the baby's fucking retarded.
But I think it's more basic.
And
fucking mongoloid baby
born downwind from a DuPont plant.
Right. From the Simpsons fucking nuclear power plant. The fish with 3 eyes.
Jason, I think that it's actually more basic than that. I think it's just human nature that we don't want to see change. That people are scared of change and what that could possibly do.
That's very true too.
I wouldn't call it human nature because by human nature, by our design, we are nomadic creatures. Right, we do clan up and we have all that stuff. So we are born to accept change. We are born to move and to change with the seasons and like not supposed to eat the same thing every day and all this other stuff. So like by design, we're
also creatures of habit too. So.
But here's the big weakness: we're susceptible to fear. And they've been using fear this whole entire time to condition people. It's fucking
every status argument.
Abuse.
Yeah, every status argument is based on fear.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
It's fucking emotional abuse. The way that they twist things to just terrify people. It's terrorism, It's fucking emotional abuse, and it has conditioned people. It's, you know, it's like an abuse victim. People have these irrational emotional reactions to the smallest fucking stimuli because the fear center of their brain has been fucking overloaded. You know?
Well, the news is like fear porn, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And you see that. Well, you see that constantly with all sorts of things. You see that, I mean, for me, my biggest thing with guns and, oh, well, aren't you afraid of this scary black plastic? Aren't you afraid of this thing and that thing? And, oh, he's got 30 rounds and, oh, he's got this and he's got that. And you see it over and over and over again where it doesn't matter what the reality is or what the statistical probability is or what science actually says or anything else. What matters is I can make people afraid of a thing and therefore control them.
Yeah, I have a perfect example of this. The gun
it's
control debate is the perfect fucking example because I see people saying things like, oh, if one person with a semi-automatic rifle can mow down tens of people within seconds. And I'm like, this word, semi-automatic, has been repeated in ominous tones for so fucking long. People don't even know what it means. People legit think that semi-automatic means machine gun, means automatic.
Well, it's a marketing tactic.
Well,
I mean, if you repeat something so many times, it becomes a truth, even if it's not even true.
Right. I can't tell you how many people I've had to explain that to on Facebook. And I say, no, semi-automatic means one pull of the trigger, one shot.
As fast as you can pull the trigger
again without having to cock it or reload.
Yeah, what it all breaks down to is the great man boogeyman fallacy, right? Yeah. Government in the government's eyes and in government schools, they're the great man, quote unquote, and they're protecting us from the boogeyman. The boogeyman being the brown people 12,000 miles away, or
right,
the brown people across the border, or economic collapse, or food shortages, or gas, or whatever, right? Whatever it is, the great man, quote unquote, the great man fallacy. The great man is the government because the government protects you from A, B, and C.
Right.
But isn't it funny how the great man?
That's what they're indoctrinated into.
Yeah.
The great man creates the fucking boogeyman.
Yeah, that's what you have to get people to realize. The great man is the boogeyman. Yeah. He's just fucking telling you that he's not.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to regulate the big businesses because if not, then they'll all take over our lives and they'll poison everybody and they'll do all these terrible things and monopolies. And then they fail to realize, all these people fail to realize, monopolies physically don't naturally exist. I mean, maybe they could, maybe there's a possibility there.
Yeah, but with market pressure.
Yeah, most monopolies as we know them now would never exist
without government.
Without government in the first place.
Without IP protections and incorporation laws and barriers to entry for competition and all these things that government does.
Lobbying. Right. There's a whole shitload of pro-gun conservatives right now that are learning about lobbying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag Benchmade.
I was gonna say Benchmade. I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
Fuck you, bitch made.
Did you see, speaking of that, did you see what Kershaw did on their Instagram page? Where they posted the picture of the knife and the gun and it said our knife cuts lots of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been several knife companies that have posted on Instagram and Facebook of their knives with firearms.
Right.
Right. And it's all trolling Benchmade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's good publicity for them. It's really good.
EOTech donated to Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah. Well, it's EOTech anyway, so to be fair,
that was my theory too. Yeah. So
having owned an EOTech and absolutely confirming that even their latest models have improved literally none of their historical zeroing problems at all. None. I spent over $400 on that piece of crap.
Oh, yeah, EOTech is the Yugo of red dot sites.
God, you know what didn't take long to zero? Vortex, Strike Fire 2. You know what didn't take long to zero? The HoloSun 512C. Those are both $200.
Yeah.
The Yugo. God.
The diesel Yugo, no less.
God.
It is a
Yugo
diesel
is,
Yugo.
The Yugo is the car of communism, and communism is the Yugo of economic systems. It's just kind of poetic.
The only thing that communism ever produced that was worthwhile was fucking AK.
Yeah, and then the leftists are all trying to ban that. So, you know.
Right.
Actually, I mean, strictly speaking, the Yugo isn't really the car of communism because communism produced far worse vehicles than the Yugo.
That's true. It's the only one that survived.
It's the pinnacle of communism.
Yeah, it was the best car.
Communism's best effort at a car. Yeah.
Actually, you know what's the Grand Tour that's made up of the guys originally from Top Gear on BBC. They just did a thing on China's latest luxury car. And it's called what is it called? It's something really stupid, but it means red flag in Chinese.
And
of course it does.
It looks exactly like what you would expect a dictator to ride around
picture the classic Soviet dictator car. So black, massive, 4-door, you know, the flag poles, ultra squared, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
hide 37 bodies in the trunk.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It's
a 17-year-old limousine is essentially what you're looking for.
It's that. But get this, it costs when you convert from what they taught from pounds to dollars. From yen to pounds to dollars. It costs $113,000.
And apparently, according to the guys, it's shit.
Or no, it's even. Is it even more than that? Is it almost $1 million?
Can we even laugh though? I mean, California spent over $1 million on a bus that they never fucking.
That's true.
used.
No, I think it's because they said 980,000 pounds, not 98,000 pounds. It was 980,000 pounds.
That might be true.
Yeah, so it's like $1 million car.
Wow.
Tara says Dan's whip in 2020? Question mark.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's produced in a country where most people will never make that amount of money in their entire lives. Where the only people who do are already government officials, and it's designed specifically for them because it's named Red Flag and comes with flagpoles pre-installed on the front fenders.
Well, in all fairness, though, honey, remember what he also said. Want to know how many registrations were applied for in this one city?
It's because it's a lottery.
A month. 2,000. Want to know how many actually were approved? 3.
Good Lord.
Yeah, in China it's actually a lottery. You don't even get to own a car unless the government says you get to own a car, and they have a lottery for it. And so you have to register for the lottery, and if you get it, then you're allowed to buy a car.
Jeez.
That's worse than Illinois' Ford cards.
Yeah, I mean, God Lord. Oh. It's and then they're building cars that are $1 million that are, and apparently like when they got that one, he's like, what did he say? It had no cup holders. The seats were uncomfortable. The AC didn't work or something right away, and it was brand spanking new. And he's like, this is a $1 million car.
It's also like 3 tons.
Yeah, and it weighs like 3 fucking tons.
And it's not armored.
Yeah, and not armored.
That's
it
basically
weighs more than the tank at Tiananmen Square.
In market terms, that's basically the car that you find on the Wish app. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. If not even Alibaba.
My dad had a '63 Pontiac Catalina Safari wagon.
Nice.
We had 11 people in that car at one point, and it sounds better than that.
Jeez, my dad has a '66 Cadillac Eldorado convertible.
Nice.
It's red with white leather seats.
Nice.
That thing. My parents have a carport on their house that was built in 1945. This is a big carport.
Yeah.
Cars were bigger back then. And
dude, that shit is like a land yacht.
Yeah, and this car doesn't fit in their fucking car.
Yeah, dude, it's like a car and a
3 feet
half.
of it stick out the end of the fucking car.
It's like if you like try to park that shit in normal.
That's like half of the trunk. 3 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Like if you tried to park that shit at like the fucking store or something in a regular parking spot, like you'd have half the fucking rest of the car hanging out the fucking.
Yeah, there's a reason
spot.
my dad only drives.
My dad,
Right.
I've watched my dad park in the compact with the wagon and just get out and be like, just fuck you.
Fuck it.
Honky. That's what
I
it's
ain't got
called.
time for this bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
This is the honky. In case you want to see it. Oh, there we go. That is the honky.
Nice.
If that doesn't scream, I am a Chinese dictator, I don't know what
Christ.
does. Like,
Even the fucking headlights look like they're fucking shitty glasses.
Yeah.
Like I told you, it's the classic. I'm a dictator. I'm gonna ride around in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks like Winston Churchill's about to climb out the back.
For real.
It is that British influence, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of bad investments,
or General MacArthur.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad investments, most expensive midterm ever. Cost of 2018 election surpasses $5.7 billion.
Jesus Christ.
With a B.
With a B. Billion.
Well, we need to get money out of politics.
You know what though? Here's what blows your mind. The things that people want these politicians to fix, the things that really make people dissatisfied with their lives, you know, that make them vote for these politicians, that kind of give them vague promises about it and nothing ever happens. All of that money could fix all those problems for all those people.
Yeah, that's what Andrew and I were talking about.
If it was just directly applied to their problems, you know, to these actual problems that
that's what Andrew and I were talking about in the Telegram chat. Like, 5.7 billion goes a long fucking way.
Hell yeah, it does.
I mean, imagine.
Yeah, but if you help people out, that doesn't benefit you personally. You know what I mean? They can't do favors for you.
Right.
Well, and then consider that Trump wanted or agreed to end the government shutdown for $5.5 billion.
But you know what, you guys? Here's the thing. I have an idea. So this money that gets spent on elections, these are donations from supporters of these politicians, right?
Yep.
So how about they do the build up to the election, they gather these donations, campaign contributions, and then nobody gets elected, and the money just goes directly to the problem. Goes directly to those fucking problems that people wanted fixed.
Yeah, every time I hear that,
unlike Bernie that went into a vacation home.
Yeah,
right.
His third or fourth home. I don't know. I've lost track.
He has 3, I think.
He has 3 homes, and he has an Audi A8 now, or
R8.
Yeah, I'm saying A8 actually.
For a guy who's never done an honest day of work in his life, that's a pretty
he's literally never done any work for anyone but the government. He has never made money that wasn't taxpayer dollars ever in his entire fucking life.
Yeah,
he'll lecture you about income inequality on his front porch of the third house
of
on the
his
lake.
Third house. Yeah.
With more than 5.7 billion shelled out by candidates, parties, committees, PACs, and outside groups in 2018, midterm leapfrogs even then record-breaking 2008 presidential election, which saw nearly 5.3 billion in total spending. It also smashes the previous midterm spending record of 3.8 billion in 2014.
I mean, that's a midterm. Midterm.
That's crazy, dude.
But you know why? Okay, I know why so much money went into this midterm, though. Because nobody expects Ruth Bader Ginsburg to live until the next election.
Yeah, right?
Robot Bader Ginsburg at this point. It's
Darth Bader Ginsburg. She's like in a fucking suit that's keeping her alive.
Oh, I think you'll find this court is quite operational.
Yeah.
That's not Darth Vader here.
Sorry, Lord Vader.
It is kind of an insult to him.
Yeah, I know. Like the Emperor belt.
James Earl Jones. We're fucking sorry, dude.
Well, I mean, like, can you imagine? Like, somebody stands up to object and she force chokes him. You're underage.
Well, I meant it was an insult to fucking Darth Vader comparing her to him.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah.
James Earl Jones did the voice, right? Or
yeah.
With more money to play with than ever before, total candidate spending grew by more than $1 billion over the previous midterm election cycle. Non-party outside spending experienced a large percentage increase, 84% over 2014, as it ballooned to nearly $1.1 billion. Naturally, the most expensive midterm election resulted in several record-breaking individual races. Candidates and groups spent a record $209 million in Florida's U.S. Senate race. Candidates in the Texas U.S. Senate race spent an unprecedented $125 million. And 9 of the 10 priciest non-special election houses races ever took place in 2018.
Right, because each party wants to be the one who gets to appoint a new Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, though Democrats lost crucial Senate races, they made massive gains in the House thanks in part to spending an unprecedented $300 million spending advantage. And the candidates with more money usually wins.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they knew that the Mueller investigation wasn't really going to produce shit, so they had to get fucking Democrats in the House to fucking drum up all these other investigations against.
The 10 most generous mega donors combined to pour $436 million into the election, displaying a widespread influence of wealthy individuals in the post-Citizens United era. Able to give unlimited dollars to super PACs, Sheldon and Miriam Adelson gave more than $123 million to help Republicans, while Michael Bloomberg threw in $90 million to help Democrats.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
I mean,
Guess
think
what?
about
those guys are both members of the tribe.
Yeah, I mean, even just think too. I mean, even
not just members, they're fucking VIPs.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Adelson's a big time Zionist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even just think though. I mean, just $93 million. If you weren't throwing that at politics, what could you do with $93 million alone? Ignoring the
even if you're just investing, which banks use to give small business loans, like mutual funds and things like that.
Well, yeah, even imagine
it stimulates the economy and it helps people.
Can you imagine the way you could alter the world if you went on some of those micro loan sites for third world countries like Afghanistan and things? With $5.7 billion to loan, do you have any idea the way you could completely alter the entire landscape?
This right here. Okay, and a banner year of sorts for wealthy self-funders too. Senator Rick Scott, Republican out of Florida, poured more than $63 million of his own money to win in the Senate race. Representatives David Throne, Democrat at a Maryland Senate, or Senator Mike Braun, Republican out of Indiana, and Republican Gil Cicernos, Democrat out of California, all spent more than $9 million of their own money and won. So he spent $63 million
of his own money.
Of his own money for a position that pays $174,000 a year. And this is what I don't get about how people always want to they always want to make corporations and businesses out to be the really wicked rich. No, the wicked rich, the wickedest of the wicked rich, the baddest ones, the worst ones, they're the ones who can buy a fucking political seat like these assholes did and get themselves the power of coercion. Because in the market, they have to have your goodwill. They have to compete for market shares and for customers. But if they can get one of those coercive positions, now they're fucking cooking with jet fuel.
Yeah, it's like you and Dan said earlier about a lie being told enough times becomes truth, right? People get desensitized and indoctrinated to it. Well, if you spend $63 million, you're able to advertise and advertise and advertise and advertise and advertise and advertise. And people associate that with, he must be really good because I'm seeing his name everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's because
people are very simple like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people lack the critical thinking, you know what I mean? The majority of the voting public, they are not that fucking bright. They're not like on the level that
they need to buy Derek's book.
Yeah, that's the catch-22 of my book. Because there's so many people that I'd love to have read it because I feel like they fucking need it, but they're the ones who are not going to fucking buy it. You know?
Yep.
So,
the ones that need it the most aren't the ones going to be getting it.
No. Yeah, I've had political discussions online, and had people go, "Stop trying to use your logic on me."
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to that.
There isn't a way to respond to that other than are you serious?
I mean, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez you know, she told us why they're right and you're wrong. Because it's more important to be morally right than factually right.
Well, yeah. Did you see the video? It came out a couple of weeks ago. I think actually like the date. I think like the Monday before last, right after we did the last show, where that shaved-headed, very obviously lesbian, hyper leftist, crazy chick was arguing with that dude in a MAGA hat.
Can I just say real quick that a person's hair doesn't denote whether they're fucking psychotic SJW lesbian. All right, I'm just saying.
No, I think that there were many other elements that I was using to interpret.
Saying don't judge my hair. Don't fucking assume I'm one of them just because of my hair.
My mom had actually pulled the same shit on me when I was in high school. I shaved my head down almost to yours. And I was like, oh, I should have gotten a little bit shorter. She's like, why? You a dyke? I'm like, whoa, Mom, whoa. No.
I'm not trying to be judgmental. No, I'm just pointing out
there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being lesbian. I'm just saying like she's very clearly like as left as left gets and as invested in like women win over everyone as you can possibly get and nuts. And she's arguing with this dude who's just standing there and speaking monotone and being totally reasonable. And he goes, but I just presented facts to you. And she goes, fuck your facts. And he's like, but they're facts. Like you don't get to have, you can have your own opinions. You don't get your own facts. And she's like, well, I don't care about my facts. What about what feels right? And he's like, are you telling me that you're literally yelling at me right now that emotions are more important than logic and reason and facts? And she goes, yeah, my emotions matter more. And like everyone in this crowd of leftists is agreeing with her.
Yeah, that's seriously how they think though.
Oh my God, we need a new meteorite. I don't just wipe out most of the human race, please. Good Lord.
SMOD 2020. Everybody vote SMOD 2020. Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah. But the fact that this kind of like ideology is like encouraged, is even worse. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like it should be discouraged. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, everybody else in that crowd was legitimately going, yeah, emotions are more important. Emotions matter more. And I'm like, but they don't. I don't it boggles my mind. You're rejecting like literally everything that all of humanity should have taught you to this point in favor of. But I don't like it. Like,
well, they're just rejecting reality because they don't have the skills to cope with it.
Not at all.
I'm going to go off script here for a second and bring up an article that I was.
No, you can't go off script.
I was going to bring. I was going to.
We've had these discussions.
I was going to bring to the show, and there's an article I think it was Breitbart, and they were talking about this group of people. They were using the hashtag #EdForRed, EDFOR, RED, and it was a group of educators that were going to use their educational powers to try and turn so-called purple states blue by 2020.
So they're not even pretending not to be doing that anymore.
Yeah, look on Facebook. Use the hashtag #EdForRed and go check it out.
Oh my God.
I mean, we've all known that that's exactly what's been happening for decades, at least. But for them to just come out and so blatantly like endorse it,
that shows how much power they gain.
Sarah Chellum says, yes, dude, some of my high school friends are like, I had that one friend say, quote, yeah, maybe that's logical, but what about compassion?
Right.
It is important to have a heart,
that's a
but
favorite
like, you
thing,
can't
but
let
you know
it override your logic.
Yeah, but where does
the
compassion for others override the compassion for yourself? Or is it better to help A, B, and C if you have to hurt C, D, and F?
It's not compassion to outsource your charity to mob enforcers who will steal from people under threat of violence. I mean, that's not compassion. Person to person. That's compassion.
It's easy to be conspicuously compassionate when you're using everyone else's money.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. I mean, but it's the same thing. Like the argument is the same thing as like on airlines when they tell you, make sure you put your own mask on, before you put the person next to you's mask on. Or
there's a fucking reason they tell you that.
Right. There's a reason they tell you that, and that's because under explosive decompression, you have maybe 1 to 2 seconds of useful consciousness before you pass out, in which case, if you don't have the mask on, you can't help anyone. And the thing is, but emotion tells you, but I need to help this person who needs my help before I worry about myself. But logic and reason tell you I need to worry about doing this first. And that is exactly what they're trying to do, is say, no, put the other person's mask on, let everything else go to hell, but try and do that. Instead of helping 5 people because I put my own mask on first and now I can help them, help the one person and then pass out and die on the floor of the crashing airplane.
Right. It's suicidal compassion. And not only is it suicidal for them, but they're dragging the rest of us with them. They're forcing other people. I mean, it's like Jim Jones and his fucking Kool-Aid. Yeah. You know? I mean, there were people there who were too young to fucking know any better, and that's something their parents drag them into.
It's really psychological manipulation of people that are empathetic and have compassion, really, what it boils down to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's complete manipulation.
Yep.
And so many people fall for
it. And most people have those things. Some of us just are able to set our emotions aside for a minute.
Exactly.
And analyze something logically and to see if it's even viable, let alone the right fucking path. And we can analyze all the data, including who will also be hurt when this is done, not just who will be helped. So just because we're able to do that doesn't mean we don't have empathy and compassion.
But that's why women that's why women are targeted mainly, is because women are the more feels based,
right?
Sex.
A lot of women are very emotional thinkers.
Yeah, exactly. So if they can't think before having that knee-jerk reaction.
It's not to say that a lot of men are also
no, absolutely not. No, a lot of men are too. But I'm just saying, biologically, I'm speaking.
Women are more inclined towards service to others. Yeah. Generally, women are more inclined towards like service person to person or caretaking and nurturing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And men are more inclined towards service to the whole, to the group.
And like defense, like we go on the defensive mode too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we get our knee-jerk reaction, is like that emotion of protecting, kind of.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Men are more emotional about protection, and women are more emotional about nurturing. So, but that's why women and men are unevenly represented on the left and the right.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to this point, but it's a good segue. Lindsay, you want to bring up that other article?
Sure.
Or you want me to, or you can't?
Well, you can. You're better at public speaking than me.
It's not really public speaking.
If I'm better, you're terrible.
There might be like one person watching.
Like the one person.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I can bring it up. I guess. Sure.
Right.
Okay. Whatever.
Do it.
Basically, there was an article in the La Crosse Tribune. What?
Pull up the article.
Fine.
You've seen him do this how many times?
I know,
come on now.
But it doesn't,
you know how this works.
I will end up just reading off of it, which is why I said he's better at
That's
this.
what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does. How many times have you watched this? You don't even have it queued up?
No, because I wasn't planning on having to do it.
This is terribly unprofessional.
And now I'm blushing.
What we do?
No,
worst podcast
Jason,
ever.
I hope that whoever was asking you for advice is watching right fucking now.
Just read the head. Okay, fine. People of La Crosse decry hate crime targeting Muslim business owner.
All right, now read the first paragraph, and then we'll say funny shit about it, and then you read the next paragraph, and then we say funny shit about that, and then we get off topic, and then we end up on something that's like 180 degrees different. So,
Okay, apparently I'm being handed it.
We have accidentally perfected a format.
We have very accidentally.
Oh yeah,
the format of no good format.
Yeah,
This is fucking anarchy, bitches. You can't handle this. You're not
I
ready.
can't
for
Live
believe
in
an
action.
anarchist can't coalesce into a cohesive group. It's surprising.
You know, that's the fourth time I've heard that argument this week.
I know. Oh, all right. So
I like that the article has an ad for ammo in it, though. That's kind of
it does actually for a local sports shop, which is pretty cool. It says about 100 people rallied Friday to denounce hate crime in Lacrosse. Lacrosse Interfaith Shoulder to Shoulder Network, Lacrosse area showing up for racial justice, and University of Wisconsin Lacrosse Campus Climate hosted the event One Community, One Family. Hate has no business here at the Bullet Cab Company. So basically what had happened is that, what is his name? Something Abraham, I believe.
Mike Ahmad.
Yeah. Okay. So he owns Bullet Cab Company here in town, small business owner. He's a Muslim, he's Arab. And at some point recently, somebody went to his businesses, which is right on a major street here, and spray painted a racial slur and about him, and left it there in black shiny paint on his flat white garage door. And he noticed it for a couple of days. Somebody finally mentioned it to him, whatever, and they had painted over it. And the community and a bunch of community leaders, including actually the local synagogue, as well as a Catholic charity here and a Lutheran charity, and seeing Catholics and Lutherans work together is pretty shocking. Baptist community thing, a local mosque. Everyone came together, helped them paint over the slur, do a piece of art on the door.
There's the art after that they painted.
Oh, that's cool.
Community came together.
Beautiful.
And, at the top it says, "One community, one family. Hate has no place here."
I like that. That's a really nice image. I mean, you can see what it's supposed to mean just by looking at it. You know, a lot of art, you look at it and you're like, this is just fucking messy blobs of paint. But you can see what that's supposed to mean. All the different shapes and sizes and colors
and
all fitting together.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the artists that was involved is the younger sister of a friend of mine since I was a little kid. And they did that for free for him and everything else. And most of those hate crimes and things that you see are them doing it themselves. And this one,
is that Jesse?
Yeah, this one definitely was not. This one, I mean, the guy's reaction when he was interviewed was like, I don't even understand why anyone would do this. Like, who have I ticked off this much? I don't, like, I've lived here for decades. I've never had a problem before.
I don't know if you can see that, but I really love that photo that they took of it.
Yeah, that's good.
But
he
yeah,
looks like he's crying out front.
Yeah, he was. I've seen some TV clips with him. He was really emotional about it and really moved by it and stuff.
It's another one of those things you'll see this on the local papers, but you wouldn't see that like on the national news. The hate crime part, the paint part, like you might see that on the national news.
Right.
But you wouldn't see the positive on the national news.
Well, human interest is what they would classify it, and it would get billed way below, like not even on the schedule below the things that
the last 30 seconds
more fear.
Yeah.
A feel good story about a Muslim, it's not explosive enough.
No.
Yeah,
I see what you did there, Dan.
Nah.
Hey, you said we had to do jokes.
Yeah, no, it is. That's our community. We have a lot of problems in the neighborhood we're at and stuff, but mostly just with crime and things. But the nice thing, at least about the upper Midwest, especially that I've noticed, is that nobody really hates anybody up here. we all kind of work together, and that was what that was, I mean, that's
because you guys are snowed in for half the year and you don't have to fucking see anyone else.
Well, it's true. Yeah.
And even if there is the underlying hatred, it comes down to a small community most of the time. And if you decide you're going to completely be a jerk, nobody's going to do business with you. So you need to watch yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and your kids grew up with their kids. I mean, like you know people from the beginning in small towns.
Well,
So.
yeah, that's and we can even take this farther and talk about how the hate that is portrayed on the media, right? It's all sensationalized. It's all because sensationalization gets views and views get money. So the more they get sensationalized, the more they get viewers, the more money they can charge for advertising. But if you actually walk out into the community and talk to people, the vast majority of people are not like the media tells you. Yeah. They're decent people. Like my apartment complex here. Like we have, I do live in the ghetto, right? I'm like one of 4 white people in the ghetto here in Antioch, and there's black people and Mexican people.
You're not white. You're an Indian.
A couple of Asian people in my apartment complex here. But we all talk to each other. Like I know my neighbors. I've been in my neighbors' homes. I know their kids. Their kids. Some of their kids call me uncle.
Right.
And we all look out for each other here, but we're all from different backgrounds. Right? There's Democrats here. There's some Republicans here. There's some people that couldn't give a crap, right? And then there's the lonely anarchist me. But
we tend to be minority everywhere we go.
They watch each other's kids, right? They talk to each other and they get along and they help each other. Like we had a Mexican lady that lived next door. She fell and broke her hip, right? Well, the other people in the complex organized and they made her food like every single night for like 4 months.
Oh,
until she could get up until she could get up and walk around on her own.
Yeah.
But like that's what a community is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. It's not strangers living next door to each other. That doesn't make a community. That doesn't make a neighborhood.
Right.
Well, that's kind of how they want it. They don't want people to have like a sense of like community.
They don't want strong neighborhoods. They don't want strong neighbors. They don't want people with a strong sense of community. Like we haven't had the police come to this place in like 3 years.
Well, that's because you guys
there's
don't.
No issue.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Because that just proves that if you come together as fucking, like with a sense of community, you don't fucking need them.
No, we do.
Communities don't need police.
We do police our own. We do police our own. Like legit. We have people that move in from time to time that are run drugs or really loud or yell at their kids or abusive. And the people in the complex go to the manager or go to the owner and be like, okay, we need them to move out.
Right.
And the manager's like, okay.
Right.
Yeah, we're not trying to have that here.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, and that's it. And
whereas in my neighborhood, there's 2 of my neighbors are cops and nobody fucking talks to each other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Talk about a contrast, and everyone loves to talk about how great small rural communities are. And then you throw 2 cops in there, and everyone's like, nah, I want to get in trouble. So
right, nobody fucking socializes.
Yeah. I mean,
but they're like a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Well, a blanket. God damn.
Yeah, you see that in so many communities. I mean, small towns that have no police department at all of their own. They don't need outside police because everybody is in a community. We're all in this together. We need to work together. We care about each other, and you don't need police. You don't need these things. You want to change the world, start in your neighborhood.
Exactly.
Start talking to your freaking neighbors. Get to know people. Like the first time I moved back to the city from out in the middle of nowhere, and I asked somebody something about one of their neighbors, and they had absolutely no idea who they were, their name, anything, didn't know a thing about them. And it boggled my mind. And now I've lived here long enough, and I'm starting to see that happen. Part of that's because our apartment building has like a constant rotation of people getting kicked out. But so you can never really get to know anybody.
You start nicknaming them instead.
Yeah, you kind of start just giving them nicknames. But
like, there's Pool Dude, and then there's Tall Dude, and then there's Goodwill Lady,
and Old Dude,
Yeah,
and then the cat lady across the hall.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
and
and like our neighbor next door who has his own house and stuff, he's got a couple of dogs. They're Snipe and Tony. They're cool. Snipe is a was it a plot hound?
Yeah,
plot hound, which is apparently really rare and really expensive normally. But he actually
so you know the dog better than you know the people. I mean, that's
absolutely.
Not
I have no idea.
Dogs are better than people.
I mean, we stood out there and talked to him, and like he was all confused initially that we'd be talking to him, and Snipe scares a lot of people because he barks at everybody and everything, but it's because he really wants attention and he loves people. Like his tail's always high, it's always wagging. He's really excited. He
Sounds
just
like
wants
my dogs.
Yeah, he's
except for when it comes to Tony. If you
don't go anywhere near Tony though. He's very protective.
Snipe is no longer friendly.
Yeah,
Right.
Tony's like a little beagle, and Snipe will not. He's not happy with anybody going anywhere near Tony. He's very protective. But like we've got to know our next door neighbor and know the dogs, and we're the only ones that like he's laughed. Mike has laughed because he's like, you guys are the only ones that he doesn't bark at or anything else. Like he just stands there and wags his tail and everything.
Because we made the effort to be social.
Yeah, because we had the effort to get to know him and get to know the dogs and get to know you and everything. So everything's cool. Like it's fine. I even called animal control one time because Snipe got out, and I was like, hey, he's out and he won't come to me, but I'm tossing cheese into the yard to at least keep him in the yard. Can you get somebody over here to get him like out, keep him from getting into the street and getting hurt maybe? Because like he's really scared because he managed to get out and doesn't know how to get back in.
I'm just calling an assist. You don't need to haul him away.
Yeah, I don't need
this dog.
Don't send anybody with the gun.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what they said actually when I called. They're like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called. Just worried about him because the last guy who called us wanted somebody to just like come shoot him." And I'm like, "What? Why?" He's just scared, man. And if you took the time to get to know him, you know that that's what's happening is that he's out of his yard and he's scared now. What?
Yeah.
Well, and that was when he was with the other owners that used to beat the crap
the other
out of
owners
him.
who beat the crap out of him, and so he'd hop their fence into Mike's yard and play with Tony all day, and so Mike would constantly control his yard anyway. So
why is that such like a quick option? Like we'll send somebody over there to shoot the dog.
Yeah,
like, why would you even ask for that? But,
right?
Like, oh yeah,
so
can you just come
crazy,
kill it? What?
Yeah.
A member of
It's
somebody's
a fucking dog,
family.
dude.
Ass?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
There's a child playing in the street. You want to just come shoot it? Like,
Yeah, right.
I mean, if that's the thing, I have a lot of phone calls to make.
get rid of some of the riffraff here. We're gonna.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of shooting people, new bill would require DCFS, that is Department of Children and Family Services, to inspect homeschool houses for signs of abuse.
You guys, this story's been pissing me off for weeks.
Oh
yeah, I bet.
This is out of Illinois. This isn't the Oregon one.
Right now.
Yeah. A Southern Illinois representative wants to require DCFS to investigate homes where kids will be homeschooled for signs of child abuse. Representative Monica Bristow, Democrat out of Alton, introduced House Bill 3560, which would require a Child Protective Service unit of DCFS check homes for signs of child abuse and neglect after a home school registration form is submitted.
Don't fucking submit the form. Don't even tell them you have kids.
Yeah. After the
CPS.
investigation, the State Board of Education would notify the school district where the home is located that the student will be homeschooled. Once every 2 years, the State Board of Education would inspect the records of a registered homeschool student. Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you, Illinois.
Because there's so many of these homeschoolers coming into high school years and like into regular society going, oh man, I was abused the entire time I was at home.
Yeah.
That's totally
literally nobody I've ever talked to.
Right.
Yeah, what? There's no reason, no actual reason, right? Remove, again, what a surprise, it's a Democrat who doesn't want people homeschooled. But there is no reason at all, statistically, scientifically, or logically, for you to be concerned that homeschoolers are abused versus public school. In fact, it's exactly the inverse of that.
That's what I was going to say. There's stories
exactly.
about teachers like having inappropriate sexual relationships with their students on the news all the fucking time. Send fucking child services to the schools and see what the fuck is going on.
Well, and it's not even just that, but I mean, you think about it, and I mean, if you're already, I mean, just logically looking at it, if somebody's already abusing their kid, of course they want to get rid of them for a little while and not have to worry about them.
Exactly.
They're not going to keep them home.
Yeah, no.
They're going to send them
and have to invest their time in them.
In super extreme cases, it has happened because they didn't.
Yeah, there was the case here in Southern California with the homeschool girl that was beaten to death. Yeah,
and they don't. And there were other ones where like the family was investigated and there were just abuses everywhere. But
it happens with kids that go to school too. They get
it happens
far more often. I mean, look at the statistical probability. You got to look at like the per 1,000 kids who go to public school versus per 1,000 kids who go to homes or who are homeschooled.
Yeah,
who's more often the abuse? And I guarantee
the percentage is probably way higher.
Yeah,
but the problem that they're going to argue, and being the devil's advocate here, is that the whole reason that they're worried about the homeschool kids is that there's nobody else outside the home able to notice it, or they are not able to say, hey, I'm being abused, I need help.
It's not that there's
because the state
isn't allowed to be the busybody.
Right, because the kid's not around a mandatory reporter every fucking day.
Well,
it makes them nervous.
What I see that is more of an excuse and a front for them to fucking because they're upset that they don't have their hands on the minds of of those children that are being homeschooled and being able to mold them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that's the whole state's objective.
Yeah, and there's prejudice even in the civilian public against homeschoolers, that they're weird and trying to teach their kids weird things.
Oh yeah, well that's part of the indoctrination too.
Honest, the homeschoolers that totally showed up in high school, they were a little weird.
My kids are.
They seemed weird.
My kids are totally normal. I swear.
Right.
Totally
now they seemed weird. I think about it too, and they seemed weird because they were cognitively and socially they were adults already. Well, that's why they seemed weird to us when we were high school kids.
Right.
Because a lot of them were just, they didn't understand why we were so fascinated by the things we were fascinated by.
They're not indoctrinated into the the social dynamic that comes along with being around all those people. Like my kids, they both have Facebook profiles. Mm-hmm. My son is on Facebook maybe twice a week. My daughter's on every day for maybe 25, 30 minutes. That's it. Yeah. They both work. They both have their own thing that they do. They're both well-rounded. They're both very mature. My daughter has a full-time job while going to school, while going to college.
And they're 18, right?
19 now. They turned 19 on the 10th, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but I mean, and you can't sit there and you can't tell me that this isn't very, very clearly an excuse to immediately come up with a way to label homeschooling itself abuse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're not socialized enough, you're abusing them, and then force them to go to school.
And it also becomes your word against the state agent's word.
The state agent, yeah. In addition, who gets to decide what counts as abuse?
The state agent does.
Yep, the state.
It becomes like an education.
Very subjective.
Yeah.
Well,
that's exactly it. And that's what you'll see is you will see them. This is a move. I mean, we're seeing it in Germany now. Germany's
going to say that
ahead of it. Yeah, and we're already seeing that where now they've outlawed it completely.
Yeah, people fled the country.
Yeah.
People fled the country trying to escape the homeschool laws in Germany.
Right.
And the U.S. government sent them right back.
Yep. Would not.
It's so progressive, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's exactly what you see. That is exactly what you see is this whole move to make sure that you concentrate education and how people think and what they think in what the state can control. And it's getting worse and worse every freaking year.
Because
that's what happens under socialism. You need that central planning.
Right. Highly educated people make very poor slaves.
Yep.
But people who are just educated enough to pull the levers and push the buttons, but they're not educated enough to question why, that's what the state needs.
Yep. Homeschooled kids don't stand for the anthem.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the day. There's no national anthem. There's no sports to build a sense of community with all of the other students. And
there's no standing in line constantly to reinforce, the
there's
almost military nature of Russian.
There's no repetitive submission to authority.
Yeah. There's no asking permission to use your own body to eliminate waste.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
no repetitive submission to outside authority.
Right. So, and people who aren't willing to submit to authority are dangerous for the state, plain and simple. They're dangerous.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's I know my ex's second cousin, one of her cousin's kids, was diagnosed with what is it? The authority defiant disorder.
Oppositional defiance disorder.
Yeah. That, and I'm like, so basically he doesn't like being told what to do by people who just assume that they get to tell him what to do. Is that what you're telling me? Because I don't see anything wrong with that.
Now there is a legitimate diagnosis of ODD where people just like kids even can't, they melt down if their parents even try to ask them to do anything.
Yeah.
Brett, but that's different. That's very different than kids in public school being diagnosed with it for doing shit like not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance so that they can be forcibly fucking medicated by the state.
Right.
Brett Goff just commented. He said, my daughter just heard the Pledge of Allegiance for the first time and asked why everyone was standing.
Yeah.
Because they're indoctrinated, Brett.
Right, because they're all indoctrinated to think that this is what you do, that you have to swear absolute fealty. And that's the thing. As soon as you point out...
not to the state, not to the government.
Kindergartners.
But not to the state, not to the government, because that would be too obvious for people. But to the symbol of everything that America stands for.
Right.
And all this, like... symbolic nationalism, and it ignites this patriotic fire in their chests, and you know what I mean. It would be very different if it was I pledge allegiance to the government.
Yeah,
of the United States.
And well, I mean, we should get back to this right here. We should get back to this and start forcing people to do this, and then maybe they would understand that wasn't what even the founding fathers of America intended. They would have never been okay with that.
They would have shit themselves over that.
Yeah, they would have been pissed because they were fighting against this idea as it was that King George V was God ordained to rule over people, and there's
divine right of kings.
God ordained. God doesn't choose rulers. You don't get to just say no. God says so. No, it doesn't work that way. And that was what they went to war over. I mean, they went to war, and now we're right back to this. To one nation under God. You're trying to equate very subtly the government and God-ordained power. That's what you're trying to do.
Yep.
And it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting.
They just repackaged the divine right of kings and made it.
What was it? That didn't get added to the fucking banknote until like what was it, like the 30s or 40s?
In God we trust, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
that didn't get added until like what, the 40s or 50s?
54.
That was when the pledge. Yeah, I was gonna say that's when the pledge came around.
Yeah, it wasn't until 54 that it got added. The pledge itself came around. Wasn't it part of
35? Wasn't that One Nation Under God? Wasn't that as a result of McCarthyism?
I think so.
I don't know.
It might have been. I know that a group of Baptist pastors led the charge for that.
Surprise.
Yeah. I know for sure that's the thing that happened. But I do know the original pledge didn't include it. The pledge was introduced and I think kind of de facto official in like 34. It was 54, so 20 years later. Yeah. Under God.
The recent alteration of word under God was added in 54 on Flag Day. The Pledge of Allegiance by Francis Bellamy was originally written in 1892 and formally adopted by Congress as the pledge in 1942.
42. Okay, so into World War II, as we're fighting
I'll be right back.
National Socialists, we're adopting a pledge written by a National Socialist. So there's that.
Well, FDR was a socialist, essentially.
Oh, yeah, he was a hell of a socialist. I mean, he was blatant.
Just a different flavor, right?
Yeah, Francis Julius Bellamy, a Christian socialist minister and author.
I mean, the Nazis were so horrible, but we imprisoned fucking, 120,000 Japanese and dropped 2 nuclear bombs on them?
Oh, the worst part about the Japanese internment camps, though, is that they actually came back about halfway through the war and went to them and said, so you have 2 options. You can either join us and you can go die for this country and prove that you're loyal to us, or you can just sit here and then you're proving that you're disloyal to us and actually problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's straight up. They went in as recruiters and said, we're going to start all these pure Japanese American units, and you're going to fight in Europe, and you're going to be on the front lines exclusively, and you can volunteer for this and prove that you care about America, or you can rot in the jail cells, essentially, that we put you in, and then we're all going to know that you're cowards and that you're disloyal to this country this whole time. And so obviously what choice did they have but to go and put their lives on the line for a country that had just imprisoned them? And I mean, and the one guy, he talked about we watched an interview with a guy who was what was he, a major or something? He was like, actually, he was like a major in this unit and went back to in California to one of the internment camps to see his family, and was basically not allowed in his army uniform. He had to change out of his army uniform in order to be allowed in there again.
And he couldn't bring a bottle of booze for his dad's birthday.
Yeah, and he brought a bottle of whiskey for his dad's birthday, and he wasn't allowed to bring that in because no alcohol was permitted to any of the internees.
All right.
Wow, that's fucked up.
All right, you guys, I need to laugh. Let's get to a laugh before we get to this next article. The next one's gonna piss me off, but this one will be funny. California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom is hoping to pull National Guard troops away from the U.S. border to help protect his state's struggling marijuana industry.
It's not struggling, just the state okayed one is.
Yeah, faced with competition from a robust black market, the legal cannabis industry in California has not experienced the growth that supporters had expected. Newsom, who enjoyed hundreds of thousands in campaign donations from the marijuana lobby, wants to aid the industry by redeploying at least 150 California National Guard troops from the U.S.-Mexico border and instead use them to combat illegal grows in Northern California. Quote, there are legitimate concerns in Northern California, particularly as it relates to illegal cannabis grows. They are getting worse, not better. I want to see some enforcement.
So he's essentially using the National Guard to fight the people that are in like a competitive race against the legal industry.
Yep.
And diverting resources away from fighting things like human trafficking and people bringing really hard drugs into the country.
Right. Like
it makes sense.
It must be nice to do business when you can throw your competitor in prison for
yeah, right.
California citizens voted to legalize recreational marijuana in November 2016, and the law officially changed as of January 2018. Proponents initially anticipated a thriving cannabis industry within the state's most populous, or within the country's most populous state. California officials, for example, estimated there would be up to 6,000 licensed cannabis shops in the first few years, and that the industry would bring in $1 billion a year in revenue. Instead, the state has only issued 547 temporary and annually licensed by December 2018, and California is only expected to rake in $471 million in revenue.
California is like that meme where the guy puts a stick through his own bike spokes.
Yeah.
And then fucking black market.
Yeah, they totally fucked themselves on that.
Here's the important word there was licensed.
Licensed.
They anticipated that many licensed, as if all of these people who are already growing pot illegally and making plenty of money are suddenly going to go, let me go ahead and pay the state for the right to the thing I'm already doing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, they estimated 6,000 and has only issued 547.
How much of that is because people weren't applying for them? And how much of it is because their bureaucracy runs like fucking frozen molasses?
It's the bureaucracy, the taxes, I read somewhere the other day, or last week, that it would cost estimated like $1.2 million in the state of California to start a cannabis company.
Wow.
That's absurd. I mean, that is absolutely, especially, I mean, and again, the reason everybody anticipated it is because the people who were pushing for this to get legalized, when they were pushing, were basing their numbers off of what everyone already knew existed in the black market, and then pretended that the moment it was legal, that all of the black market people were going to come out of the woodwork and come into the light and say, hey, look, I want to do this legally.
And give you hundreds of thousands of dollars to get set up.
Yeah, and pay you tons and tons of money that will cut into my profits. And let's be honest, if you know anybody who has ever grown marijuana illegally, these people are not living lavish lifestyles.
No, they're
these people
fucking
are living in ghetto-ass fucking apartments. They're barely making ends meet, if they're making ends meet, the same as everybody else. Plain and simple.
They're
and
just happy they don't have a 9-to-5 office.
Yeah, and
job.
they're just fine that they don't have a 9-to-5, and that's all they're after. And then you're going to ask them, these people who are already broke, to make you $1 million
for a license to sell you a product that they're already selling on the street.
Exactly.
With a 40-something% markup because of the taxes.
And to deal with all the regulatory BS regarding what kind of business and zoning and
the risk of the federal government coming in and taking all of it, because technically,
and you can't put the money in a bank because it's still federal legal.
Right, because banks won't do business with cannabis businesses, so it's an entirely cash business.
New Frontier data, a firm that analyzes marijuana sales, estimates that the black market accounts for as much as 80% of the marijuana sold in the state. California's illegal pot market is estimated to be 4 times that of the legal market.
Well, what do you fucking expect, California?
You mean that maybe
they shot themselves in the foot?
Yeah, you know, and I feel like I say that more often in my life than should be necessary. What the fuck did you expect, California?
Yeah, what did you think was going to happen?
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as like people being all mystified that the international illegal gun market is so huge.
Yeah.
And then these are the same people who live in countries where being able to sell guns legally is almost impossible. And then they're mystified that all of these companies are willing to deal underhandedly internationally, and it's like, well, because they're in business to make fucking money, and you won't let them make money. So,
or like California being mystified that mismanaging the forests means that forest fires get worse.
What? That's what? Because we all know government is historically so incredibly efficient.
Oh my god!
But Jason, don't you dare clean up that brush.
Oh no!
Don't pick up your brush.
No.
Well, God was just punishing California for all the gay butt sex, but
that's I read that.
That's true.
I mean, imagine how much that 5.7 billion. Imagine how much that would go. Like 10% of that. 10% of that could literally rebuild the entire city of Paradise.
Yeah.
All California has to do to make God not be mad at them about gay butt sex anymore. Somebody go burn the casting couch at Disney.
It's the straw thing. God is still mad at California for having disposable plastic straws.
God
really loves. I don't know if you missed that verse where Jesus said, "Blessed are the sea turtles," but that may have been edited out of the translation.
Yeah,
but
or God also could be mad at California for taxing cows' farts.
He's like, hey, well, or it's possibly that they decided to tax all of these plants on cow farts and all these things, where if you believe the guy created the world, well, he created plants, he created the animals, and now you're going, hey, but I get to dictate what they get to do. So maybe that's
I'm telling you, like, if you're in California right now and you want to start a business, do like those cork-sized cow butt plugs.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't know if you guys know the true story of the Bible, but Jesus did chase the money changers out of the temple over not collecting enough carbon.
He didn't just chase them; he flipped tables and whipped them.
Carbon credits over carbon credits.
Carbon credits, yeah.
God is like,
If more politicians ate the mushrooms that were in cow shit, like this world would be a totally different place.
It would.
It'd be way better.
Oh.
I
don't think
that
there'd be
out to people,
politicians though.
When people go, what would Jesus do? Going, well, you know, flipping tables and whipping tax collectors and money changers is in fact a valid response.
Yeah, it's not outside the realm.
He also told people to sell their cloaks and buy a sword. So
and buy a sword. Yeah, exactly. Sell your plowshare. Sell your.
He wasn't exactly a fucking pacifist.
He wasn't. In fact, when Peter draws his sword and cuts an ear off of one of the centurions, he just says, Peter, that actually really wasn't necessary. He's not like, hey, you should have been violent. He was like, that really didn't. I was going to surrender anyway, dude. Like, no, it's cool. So he was not opposed to righteous violence or anything else at all.
Right.
But no, it's
did he say anything about not having small homes?
Yeah. No. Oh, thou shalt not live in a home under 20,000 square feet. I think is what it was. At least that's Joel Osteen's interpretation.
Right.
Yeah. Family of 4 evicted from 272 square foot tiny home in Bend, Oregon.
Surprise, surprise.
I love the name of that town, Bend, Oregon.
The home, a cozy, custom-built 272 square foot space, was a dream Steve and Chrissy Bryant nurtured for years. But on a recent sunny Friday, Steve Bryant was stuck moving everything his 4-person family owns into a single bedroom they'll share from now. The Bryants had lived nearly 4 years in a tiny wooden home on a gooseneck trailer. They moved it from El Paso, Texas to Bend in late 2015 after Steve Bryant got out of the U.S. Army and lived in an RV park for a year before buying the property in 2017 that gave their young daughter space to play outside. For the past 12 months, their setup seemed perfect. The Bryants had their small home and a large yard and a 4-bedroom house on the same property. They rented rooms for veterans at affordable rates in Bend. Then in mid-January, everything started to fall apart. The family received a letter from Bend Code Enforcement Division giving them 10 days to move out of their tiny 32 square foot house, which is considered illegal under Bend Code. If they didn't get out of the home, they could face fines of up to $7,500 every day they remained.
It's ridiculous.
How dare you benefit people that we've abandoned?
Right.
No.
And how dare you be self-sufficient? And how dare you think that
My
you
guess
can...
is, with knowing the laws and stuff on the tiny home thing, because of course Andrew's been talking about it for a while, but like my guess is they permanently hooked up the water, or they took it off its wheels, and now it's suddenly a permanent home, which then it doesn't meet code. Or
they put a concrete pad down to park it on, and then now that's considered a foundation, and now it's permanent home.
Well, Oregon is very doesn't have a lot of regulation in place yet regarding tiny homes. Because I told you guys about what my dad was trying to do and how nobody wanted to touch it because nobody knew quite what to do with it or whatever. And so Oregon, some locations take that to mean we can't tell you not to. And other locations in the state take that to mean we haven't told you you're allowed to yet.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Yeah.
It's kind of open to interpretation at this point.
Yeah, the family moved the house to Bend because Central Oregon Community College's aviation program is one of the few in the country that accepts the GI Bill. In December 2017, they purchased a 2.3-acre lot with a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house just north of Cooley Road and next to U.S. Highway 97. They just wanted the land for their tiny home, but rooms in the home could be rented out for $600 a month, bills included, to others in Bend looking for affordable housing. One of the roommates moved out just before the Bryants received their letter from the city. So for now, Steve, Chrissy, and their daughters, Odin and Keely, are living in a vacant bedroom. While it's about the same size as the tiny house they just had to leave, Steve Bryant.
But it doesn't have a kitchen or a bathroom. Yeah,
it's absurd. I mean, and on top of that, again, I mean, even regardless of how much the political right in the United States wants to hump the leg of government like a dog in heat.
Yeah. And this is what really angered me about it. I mean that was angered me, but the city says no to tiny homes. City code doesn't allow most tiny homes. An exception is Ben's cottage code, created in 2015, which allows homes with no minimal size, but only in clusters. The code requires at least 4, but no more than 12 homes in a cluster around a shared open space.
So that was probably included because somebody who was on that board or whatever was planning on building some sort of vacation property with rentals, and they wanted to make sure that they were going to be able to keep that. That's what
cottages wouldn't be allowed on the Bryant's farm, which is zoned for low density residential development.
Right. And here's the thing about Bend. You have to understand the geographical region. Bend is in up in the Cascade Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And there is so much skiing all over around there. There's Sisters and there's Bachelor and and there's resorts called Inn of the Seventh Mountain and stuff like that. It's a ski town. Bend is a ski town. Okay, so you have to understand somebody wanted to be able to build little tiny lodges for weekend skiers.
For Airbnb stuff, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless they're in RV parks and attended for temporary stays, tiny homes in Bend are required to have foundations. That means homes like the Bryants that can be transported on wheels don't fit the code. James Goff, Ben's code enforcement manager, said the department sees cases like the Bryants.
No relation. No relation.
Yeah, Goff. Sees cases like the Bryants once every 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, no, that's your long lost cousin. Sorry.
Yeah,
you totally get blamed for that.
Maybe a relation.
Yeah.
So they sent, who was it again? I didn't hear.
Code enforcement
to their house every 4 to 6 months.
So no. The code enforcement, the guy that oversees the code enforcement, sees a story like this every 4 to 6 months.
Oh, gotcha.
So this guy, literally, his job is just to be a pedantic little bitch.
Well, his last name is Goff.
Hey! Again, distant relation, if any, actually is probably relation. Distant.
Yeah, fucking burn, man. That was a serious burn.
That's going to leave a mark.
Right?
Yeah, James Goff, Ben's code enforcement manager, said his department sees cases like the Bryants once every 4 to 6 months.
Jesus.
So I feel like there's a family get-together that needs. Brett, I know you're listening. And
yeah,
Andrew,
Brett, we're going to have a family intervention, buddy. Got out there. All three of us spell it different, but same last name. We're all related.
Mm-hmm.
That's just sad because we are. But
I don't understand what the city's beef is. I mean, they wouldn't go raid a fucking RV park, would they?
But that's the thing, though, is because whatever these guys did made it a permanent home,
without making it a permanent home with a foundation.
Yep.
That was their argument.
Yeah, because the same place can be placed on an RV park on a longer term.
So if they had moved the trailer by 10 feet around the property every month, move it a couple feet or
no, it has to be in a cluster. So it has to be 4 tiny homes.
So if instead of
all on foundations.
So get a couple of sheds, right?
Yeah.
You would have to take it off the trailer. That's the thing, because it would have to be on a foundation or parked in an RV park.
Right, which means it would have to lobby the city to rezone their property for an RV park, and then they could turn it into an RV park and simply have no other actual spots. And then
say, they're for rent, just nobody's rented them yet.
Yeah, they're all up for rent. It's just we don't approve anybody because we have very specific requirements. And
your last name must be this.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry.
Your last name has to be Goff.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not happening.
Fucking property rights.
Yeah, there's plenty of us out there. It's But no, I mean, and that's the thing that people with tiny homes are continually running into. And because I've been wanting to do the tiny home thing and the self-sufficiency thing for so long, I've been tracking this a lot and watching it and more cities, because they're getting, and townships and things, because they're getting more and more vacant pieces of property with tiny homes plopped on them, because the tiny homes are so cheap and easy to build and they can get plopped there so easily, and because they're almost always off grid when they go in, it makes it very, very difficult for the city to regulate.
Yeah.
Not only that,
they need it.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but for the property taxes. Property taxes are based on the value of the property, right? Well, if you have a 4,000 square foot house, that's a lot higher property, means a lot higher taxes. If you have they
got to get those. They're called improvements.
Yeah, if you have a 34 square foot or 40 square foot tiny home on a big empty lot, there's not much property tax there. There's not much income for the government.
Right. Because every improvement or structure that's built on the property raises the value of the property.
And in order for it to be considered an improvement, it has to have a foundation. Yep. If there's nothing permanent in the ground, it doesn't. That's why people a lot of times around here out in the country, when they buy trailers, they put them on cement blocks and leave the axles intact, because if they do, it's never actually considered an improvement to the property. Yeah. Even if it's there for 50 years, it doesn't get considered part of the property.
It's still considered a temporary structure.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know who the Utopians bus said, gonna have to plan a bus life, van life meetup in Bin now, and then a laughing emoji.
See, that's another thing I've been considering, is doing a schoolie. I've been debating between doing a schoolie and doing a tiny home. I want to do one of the two. And I've discovered that there are places that actually sell a few acre lots out in like Arizona and New Mexico for really, really, really cheap, mostly because it's desert and it's absolutely worthless. Yeah.
But there's a lot of cheap property in like Kentucky and Tennessee too.
Yeah, and if you can find it, if you already have a tiny home on wheels or you already have a school, you can totally move there. You're done. You're there.
Right.
And, and it's great. And like, that's been something I've wanted to do for a while, especially for the sake of self-sufficiency, getting off grid. For the most part, I still need internet because obviously I still do this and everything. But that other than internet, I want to get completely off grid.
You know someone that does a podcast about these sort of things, right?
Right.
I might vaguely be familiar with one or two people who might possibly, yeah. But that's the thing, is I've been looking at it and I've been planning out a build and working on a floor plan and everything else for probably 5-6 years, trying to plan it out. But what's always scared me about making that jump is exactly this shit right here, because all I got to do is pick the wrong place, or the wrong place is good for it, and then they change their mind, and suddenly, magically, my house is no longer considered an okay habitation anymore, and now I got to move shit, and everything gets.
That's why you have to do the schoolie, so you can just turn your house on and fucking go somewhere else.
Yeah, we're changing the regulations. All right, brum. See you later.
See you later.
A microbus with a wood stove.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even want a microbus. I want like a full-on. I want to get one of those former like big motor coaches and build it out and work on it. I'd love to be able to throw on a 4-wheel drive chassis, so I can get into the really, truly middle of nowhere, away from everyone. And like, good luck showing up for code enforcement, because you're going to need a 4-wheel drive in 3 days, motherfucker.
The Utopians bus is Jeremy Berkson, and he says he's Facebook friends with all of us.
Yeah. They're going to Randy Weaver you, Andrew.
Oh, they're going to try.
Jeremy's good people.
Yeah.
Like the my little emoji thing that I posted the other day that I'd made, the Claymore mine with the party hat and confetti. Surprise!
Don't Ruby Ridge me, bro.
Yeah. You gotta let me know so I can disarm a few things.
Yeah. Call ahead.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Please. Just like the trail to your house, like 100 yards out, like connected to a tree is a bullhorn. Just be like
Yeah.
just call out first.
Yeah,
Or like
please.
leave a little box of air horns there. Just blow this if you're headed up the driveway.
Yeah, let me know
Yeah.
ahead of time because you don't want to try. Otherwise, it's not going to go well.
Let's just be honest. The threat of me walking around the house naked is enough to make sure most people call ahead.
Don't show up unannounced. She might be naked in the yard. You never know.
Yeah.
And with me, that's actually a valid concern.
It's possible, you nudist.
I like being nude. It's how God made me.
God, I can't stand it.
Somebody,
I'm always too
somebody's
fucking
gonna go
cold.
over and borrow a cup of sugar like
Yeah,
every day.
the other day, Slink said something about that's the way God made me. I was like, that nigga fucked up.
Slinky doesn't know because he just wraps his fucking ears around himself.
Slinky
not a
was
problem.
really interested in that Lucky Charms IPA.
Yeah,
That tells you all you need to know about him.
Did you guys see his new profile picture and cover photo today?
yeah, that potato peeling son of a bitch.
Yeah, I made those.
God damn it, Slinky.
No, I made those.
Oh,
So.
UC Santa Cruz student arrested for allegedly creating drug-selling app disguised as a game. Aggressive as fuck. A UC Santa Cruz student is facing federal charges for allegedly creating an app designed to sell illegal drugs. Police released the mugshot Wednesday of 18-year-old suspect Colin Howard. Quote, we would have rather seen him doing research on cancer or something else that would have been positive in the world, said UC Santa Cruz Police Chief Nader.
It's not your fucking business.
No longer
and I would say this is positive, so, you know.
I would absolutely agree that the app was positive.
Yeah.
The app is called Banana Plug, a play on the UC Santa Cruz's mascot, the Banana Slug. It will be advertised all by flyers all over campus.
That's cute. Like I knew what a plug was, but I didn't know why they called it Banana Plug.
Yeah, that was
cute.
not the direction I was going at all.
No, I know. Me neither, but it's
I was
cute.
thinking Grinder, man.
Brett Goff says our farm gate is always locked with a sign that says, quote, call for entry. All trespassers will be shot. This includes law enforcement.
Nice.
Anarchist fuck, bro.
Nice.
Howard is from Sunnyvale. A Homeland Security agent alleges Howard developed the app which offered contraband for sale, including cocaine, Molly, and shrooms. It was available on the Apple
That's a fucking
App Store.
public service.
Yeah, that's a fucking weekend on campus in California. Are you kidding me?
Quote, once it's on the App Store, a lot of things could go wrong, said Ahmad Banaf, San Jose State University cybersecurity expert and engineering expert. Quote, this is why monitoring, the community monitoring and reporting is a very important in taking it down. An affidavit also says customers were able to make special requests. An undercover sting with multiple drug buys ended with Howard being arrested last Friday. He's charged with 4 counts of distribution and possession with intent to distribute cocaine and methamphetamine. He was released Friday from custody after a court appearance. If convicted, Howard could face decades in prison and millions in fines.
I'll be right back again. Sorry, guys.
What a fucking nerd.
I have to say that when you said methane, I'm like, well, I mean, it is California, you know, cow farts.
It's selling jarred cow farts.
It's selling methane.
How is this any different than what Wes Ulbricht allegedly did?
It's actually not even as bad, or it's actually worse than what Ross did, because Ross didn't have any of the drugs himself that he allegedly helped contribute to being sold. This guy did have them in his possession, and that is a completely different thing should be a completely different thing. One, as far as law enforcement is concerned, but on top of that, I mean, even ignoring the fact that the law itself doesn't or should regard this as worse, and he's not being charged as badly. Who was actually being hurt? The customers, the seller, the people who had absolutely nothing to do with it? What was he contributing to? Because you can't honestly make me believe that any of those drugs weren't getting sold and exchanged already. So by centralizing that to a certain extent and giving people some sort of place to like maybe rate sellers, or say, hey, this dude was supposed to show up and sell me a dime bag and he robbed me, that maybe is probably safer,
Absolutely. If in a controlled environment like that where people could rate sellers and whatnot, you could be like, this guy sold me good stuff, this guy sold me bathtub gin, right? Well, by market demand, the bathtub gin guy isn't going to get a lot of business, and he's either going to go out of business or he's going to change his product, right? So he actually helped improve the substance available, improve the market, and actually probably saved people's lives, because nobody wants to get hit with the super dose of fentanyl.
Well, right, and that's the thing is, and most fentanyl is
people can also lie on reviews too. You got to remember that.
Yeah. Well, they can, but remember though, I mean, statistically, most Yelp reviews are actually left by people who actually use the service too.
Oh, absolutely,
and aren't like paid or anything. So the aggregate of everybody is going to statistically trend towards an authentic review of that person. But I mean, that's what these apps really, that's their real value to society. If you actually care about people and you don't care about your dictates and your edicts and that crap, if you actually care about people, then apps like this are a good thing, because they make sure that people aren't buying things that's going to kill them. They're not getting robbed. They're not robbing the sellers. They're, like, this is like, can you imagine if you had an eBay rating system?
Well, like if the product's out in the open, the consumer feels more able to really scrutinize the product and who they're doing business with. When it's all cloak and dagger and clandestine because nobody wants to get caught, you feel like you can't ask questions. You know what I mean? You feel like you don't have any recourse if something goes wrong, or you don't have any way to know that you're getting something that isn't going to fucking put you in a coma.
And they don't want to enable the buying and selling of shit either. It's, I think, one of the reasons.
Well, that's
especially shrooms, because shrooms really fuck with their agenda and indoctrination.
Well, yeah.
Can you imagine if shrooms and ayahuasca was regularly available, and like there was just people who offered services as spirit guides and things for people's trips, and all of a sudden all these people came to all these self-realizations, and what is the government going to do to keep people indoctrinated and controlled anymore if they can have these mind-altering eye-opening experiences?
You guys don't even know how much money I would make as a trip sitter. Yes. I would fucking set myself up as a fucking trip sitter. If there were no war on drugs.
Called them earth medicine.
Well, I think that power centers around the world would probably fucking dissolve, because what I mean? Like that whole spell over humanity would probably be broken.
Because those things can make you feel connected to the people with you, connected to nature around you.
Yeah.
And if you feel a connection to your environment and to the people that are near you, you don't experience that fear that they need you to experience, and you don't need them because there's nothing for them to do.
Throwing a fit about those cuddle businesses.
Yeah.
Right, because the moment that you have comfort, the moment that you have something that you can go to to feel better and to feel more connected to people and everything that's outside of government control, now all of a sudden they're pissed. But I mean, it's the same thing like you see with vets, with them fighting vets using psychotropic and psychoactive substances. The moment that happens, where we'll use marijuana to deal with PTSD. Because it helps immensely with all sorts of things. It turns out that like shrooms and ayahuasca and MDMA can help to completely cure PTSD.
And LSD.
And depression.
LSD. Oh, Jesus. Oh, well, we need to not do any more research, because we need all these returning veterans because we've taught them how to kill and how to fight. We now need to make sure that they're so terrified of their own shadow that they never decide to realize what we did to them, because then they have the training and the capability to come at us.
And the willingness. The willingness. That's a big thing.
And the willingness to say, all right, let's friggin' come up, run up, get done up. That's
and
fine.
you know what? Veterans are automatically a group of interest to the U.S. federal government.
Well,
Veteran organizations get watched for domestic terrorism just by virtue of being veterans.
Hooray for watch list! Woo!
Yeah.
Well, yeah, wasn't everybody that was a veteran actually thrown on those watch
No,
lists?
it's everybody who is a combat veteran who has expressed anti-government or anti-war sentiment is automatically on a watch list.
Yeah,
Right.
Automatically.
Or like supports the Second Amendment.
I mean, I'm not a combat veteran, but I did hold a security clearance, so I'm sure I'm on one too.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
you're also married to somebody with a pretty high security clearance, so I'm saying.
I tell you what, you ever want to...
They bothered him about that at his last... no, just... Well, they do it at every investigation. They ask about, like, you know, the people close to you and their, you know, if there's anything they should know. And so, yeah. I mean, I've had
because they probably just
stuff.
don't want you having like loyalties to some other country and being like a fucking foreign spy and shit.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Not even that. It's that they also don't want you to not have loyalty to them. Although there's some wiggle room on that, I can tell you for sure. As far as
it's all part of the polygraph.
Yeah, because my loyalty is to money, and it's always been to money, and it will always be to money.
Well, they probably view people like us as less of a threat than somebody that works for a foreign government.
Yeah. I think he got the polygraph. I don't know, honestly.
They do all sorts of weird. At least they used to always do all sorts of weird things. Yay for above top secret. But which I guarantee you I'll never get back.
Yeah.
Not a damn chance in hell.
No, me neither, Andrew. So it's okay.
Even if I were to split up with you, honey, and then I had ambitions to, for whatever reason,
yeah, you never get it either.
Never get it either.
They'd laugh at you. They'd laugh at you. They'd be like, "Wait, you knew?" No.
Yeah. Vote Hoarder 2020, and we could change all that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Tara wanted to comment about my limousine. I'm not even going to come in on a fucking limousine on my inauguration. I'm just going to come in a helicopter dropping fucking bankers out onto the White House lawn and shit.
Drop commies. If it's a helicopter, it has to be commies.
Well, central bankers essentially are communists because...
central bankers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lenin said that, 90% of communizing a nation was installing a central bank.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you got to centralize that money.
Well, seize the means of production, and that's the only production of currency in our country. Everything runs on currency. So,
all right, let's do one more. Let's end this on a good laugh.
Okay,
you guys remember back in September there was the article about the Arizona lawmaker that was pulled over for speeding, and he on the video he bragged about legislative immunity.
Yep.
Right. He was busted for doing 97 in a 55. And during the video, he actually bragged about doing 130 earlier on the road.
Wow.
My uncle did that
fucking
once.
Piece of shit.
The cops brought him home to my. This is my uncle. The cops brought him home to my grandparents, and my grandma asked him, "Are you out of your damn mind? What were you doing 90 miles an hour on that road?" And he said, "I was slowing down."
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So that was back in September. This article from last week: Arizona House Speaker blocks repeal of law that allows lawmakers to avoid arrests.
What a surprise that people
I would never
have
think.
a vested interest in immunity would say no to giving up their immunity.
And it's not just because they want to be able to speed, or it's not just because they want purely because they want to perk other people don't have. It's because they legitimately think the reason this law existed is because they legitimately think that their business is more urgent than yours.
No.
And that they're more important than you are.
They actually explain it why it was existed the first way. Okay.
Oh God, I can't wait to hear this.
Arizona lawmakers who want to get out of jail free cards might not have to worry after all. House Speaker Rusty Bowers. My God, that should be a porn name. House Speaker Rusty Bowers has blocked a measure that seeks to repeal a law commonly known as legislative immunity, which prevents police from arresting lawmakers while the legislature is in session. Bowers, a Republican at Mesa, said the protection was put in the Arizona Constitution for a reason. Quote, it is intended to prevent lawmakers from being detained during votes. Quote, it's a separation of powers issue, he told the Arizona Republic. That's what it is on purpose.
Wow.
So, yeah, because their business is more fucking urgent than yours.
The legislature's in fucking progress, and I'm gonna bang this whore, this prostitute. You can't fucking arrest me for it.
I would love to see the statistics of how many.
I lost track of time while I was snorting rails off a hooker's ass.
I'm sorry. I gotta get there.
Quote, we are a nation of laws, not men, he told lawmakers as he spoke from the Dallas, urging lawmakers to put a measure to repeal. Quote, no one, not me, nor you, is above the law. Let's show the people of Arizona that the elected officials live under the same laws as every man.
What a bunch of horseshit.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No one is above the law. That's why I need to be above the law.
Exactly.
I'm going to dry that out and I'm going to fertilize my garden with it this spring.
Oh my God.
Right.
It's like it's being...
you can sell it to Korea.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like this is being written and said by
because the immunity is enshrined in the state constitution, voters would need to approve it to repeal it.
Because it's enshrined in the state fucking constitution.
Hold on. The provision states lawmakers are, quote, privileged from arrest in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, and they shall not be subject to any civil process while they are in session or for 15 days before the beginning of their session.
See, no, I thought the basis for the whole entire creation of the country was that everybody was supposed to be equal under the law.
But they literally give themselves permission to be criminals.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Exactly.
All animals are equal, I will have you know, but some are in fact more equal than others.
Exactly.
The pigs are more equal. Everybody knows the fucking pigs are more equal.
Yeah,
and I love how Orwell used the pigs for that.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Is this whole thing is said by Squealer. The whole no one's above the law. That's why I need to be above the law. Black and white. Oh my God.
And you gotta wonder how much, like, is that where the term for cops, pigs, comes from? Or just is it more lowbrow than that? I want to believe the American public was at one time educated enough to use that reference for the enforcers of the law, but I'm not sure that's the case.
Did anybody else notice that they said treason, but not ever once mentioned murder?
Yeah, they never mentioned murder.
Well, they said felony.
Felony and breach of peace.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But breach of peace, I mean, that's awfully subjective. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, American politicians back in the day used to fucking get drunk in the pub and go shoot their muskets into the air with each other. And so what is breach of the peace, really?
Well, according to the cop that showed up in my driver's ed class, doing this to somebody is a breach of peace.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Only if you break off a piece, you know what I mean? So.
Well, let's think about this. Aren't all legislators in breach of the peace because they send armed thugs to get violent with people based on what they write down on paper?
Yes.
Violent with people other than themselves, apparently, in this particular case.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Well, they're too good to get their own hands dirty. Right.
Right. So. All right. Okay, one more quick thing. It took Seattle 12 years to test a rape kit of a 12-year-old girl.
Wow.
Jesus.
It took them how long?
12 years. 12 years before they submitted the rape kit of a 12-year-old girl. The girl was raped in 2006. It was tested in 2018. The other day, they arrested the guy responsible for it in Florida.
So this dude has been walking around for literally half of her damn life. You're arresting people for plants. You're arresting people because they were going too fast. You're arresting people for all sorts of crap.
You're
that hurts
arresting
no
people
one.
for hanging from streetlights and pooping on cars underneath. That just happened in Florida.
Oh my God!
Okay, well,
Florida man at it again.
I mean, you could argue there's a victim there, maybe. I guess.
Right.
Either way,
Florida man.
arresting people for things that are totally meaningless and hurt no one, and you made this girl wait a half of her entire fucking lifetime to punish someone that raped her.
For any kind of justice.
I'm open to do that to how many
How many other people?
Yep. She
well,
was raped. She was raped in 2006 when she was 12 years old, living in Seattle.
Wow.
Jesus.
12-year-old girl. This has been. I mean, this is even after this is going to destroy her life. I mean, she's never truly.
Well, even 12 years. Like you can do a lot of healing in 12 years, right? And then they arrest the guy, and bam, she has to be victimized again by going through all this.
Yeah. And now he's got to go to court.
So he made her a victim, and now the court is again making her a victim.
Yep.
And there are how many? We've covered this before multiple times, but there are how many rape kits that are untested sitting there?
Oh, so many.
Some of them have become unviable because
how many of them are unviable now? And why? Because we have to pack our prisons with people who are intaking to their own bodies the wrong chemicals.
They're trying to fix that by tricking people into using Ancestry.com and 23andMe.
23andMe. Like 2 to 4 weeks from the time they receive your package, you get the results.
Yeah.
2 to 4 weeks to do essentially the same thing that a rape kit does. Collect and analyze DNA.
Why don't they just fucking outsource it?
That requires an investigation. Whereas if they bust somebody with something, they don't have to do shit. They just throw them in the fucking cell. You know what I mean?
I suppose it is cheaper.
Yep.
It's cheaper and it's easier and it's about revenue generation and it's about
I was just gonna say
exactly.
Why spend
they're too busy out there, like, doing civil asset forfeiture on people on the roads and at their homes, and camping out in front of AutoZone waiting for apologies.
I expect you to apologize and respect my car.
Yeah. I felt disrespected.
That story was ridiculous.
That guy would melt and cry at the amount of disrespect I could pile on him right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I have a feeling he's never going to be someone who watches this podcast. I can tell you that right now.
I fucking hope not.
I hope he's sitting there in front of my house right now waiting for an apology.
If he wants to go ahead and ask me,
I'm going to go outside and see if he's there, and if he's not, then I'll use the bathroom.
If he wants to ask me for an apology, I would be happy to set a time and place, which he is welcome to meet me at. I will give him an apology at that point, and he's welcome to bring some friends. Now, I can't guarantee that those friends are going to maybe go to any further meetings after that. However, he is more than welcome to bring all of them. Please do. It will be fun. I haven't done that in a while, and it should be a great time.
You need one of these, Andrew. You need one of these.
That's why you're on a watch list, Andrew.
One of these armed abolitionists.
Yeah, me and Lindsay have already talked about that. About like she was like, "Oh, you ever want to fly back to Ireland?" I'm like, "Yeah," except that I don't know that I can ever fly again.
Yeah, right.
Also, make me aware of the fact that I'm probably on now a bunch of no-fly lists.
Well, I'm still flying.
I think everybody's reading into this way too much. I'm just saying that they're not going to want to come to any others because they're going to be so embarrassed by my logic and reasoning, and they're going to feel stupid, so they're not going to help him anymore.
Andrew be like, I'm going on vacation to Ireland, and next thing you know, like fucking 3 days later on the news, you see some shit about the IRA being started back up.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that. Fucking Irish Civil War Part 2. I
have no idea what you're talking. I've never been to Derry ever in my entire life. I have no idea. No, I was in Kerry. I was at a pub. There's at least 5 people. They can tell you that I was there. No, I also me.
I got a guy that can provide an alibi. So
yeah.
I wasn't even in the country. I was.
Yeah, we got a couple guys in Ireland.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gary's always good for an alibi.
Yeah.
Guy.
Yeah.
I was with him the whole night. We got receipts.
Yep.
You were in London, Terry?
He was at the Winchester.
Yeah. It's not
right.
Londonderry, it's Derry. It will always be Derry. It has always been Derry, and I don't give a shite what anyone else says.
I may have a fun poking at that one farm.
We don't need to hear about you guys poking.
Oh,
Ah!
hey,
Well,
now.
Yeah. I'll say
Anyone
my-
who doesn't understand.
Yeah, we're talking about sex.
I don't know what that is. I'm a virgin.
envy.
You okay?
Maybe like your left big toe. That's about it.
Yeah.
I'm in that group too. Remember? Come on now.
Yeah, but all of our viewers are not. And mom, if you're watching, I'm totally a virgin.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
literally, totally a virgin.
Yeah. Although my mother would even call bullshit on that because I've called her,
Really,
Mom,
yes.
I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
It was an immaculate conception.
It was.
Parades! Chase.
It's a miracle.
She sat on a public toilet and it happened.
Right.
And I watched black porn, which is why the baby's black.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I remember that shit.
Yo, I saw something about this woman tried to blame her.
Oh, how much
her kid,
coffee her
though.
husband drank?
Yes, dude. Yes.
Oh my God!
Her
Really?
kid was half
She gave
black
birth
and
to
she
a
tried-
black
yeah.
baby. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
She
that
tried to blame it on
seems-
how much coffee he drinks.
That's
Like,
absolutely
for real?
how genetics work.
Yes.
Yeah. You
I
eat
have
too
to
much
say-
chocolate ice cream.
He's so full of coffee that it dyed his sperm
Like-
brown.
Nah,
I have to hand it to those men though that if they're gonna believe it, they obviously know that it's false. But you know what?
but do they? But do they?
Yeah, right?
Good for
Exactly.
you for going ahead and being like, well, I at least love
This
this
is the
child.
voting. This is the
Oh,
voting
I
public
almost
America.
just said something really racist. I'm glad I caught myself. Oh.
You
It's a
guys,
free
this
forum
is
here.
the best. This is the best timeline. We're on the best timeline.
Yeah, we are. Hands down.
Yeah.
Oh,
This shit
I'm
is
actually,
bugging.
I'm actually pretty sure that a couple different timelines collided because you guys want your mind blown. Now, do you guys remember Ed McMahon doing the Publishers Clearinghouse
I saw
thing?
that post. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
about this until
He
yesterday,
never
and I was
worked
like,
for Publishers
I was like-
Clearinghouse.
I was
Wasn't
like,
that Pat
are
Sajak?
you for real?
It was American Family Publishers. That
Yeah,
was
and I've never
what
even heard of that.
Ed McMahon and was it Dick Clark?
No, Ed
worked
McMahon
for-
used to go to people's front doors and give them like big.
That
check
sounds
and
like the
shit.
world's creepiest pair to come to your
Yeah.
front door, Ed McMahon and Dick Clark. I'd be like, what the hell is happening?
But like
You're
that's the
aliens,
new-
aren't you? You're here to abduct me.
That's like the new Mandela effect thing that people have noticed. You know, it was like Shaquille O'Neal or not Shaquille O'Neal,
Sinbad.
Kazam. It was Sinbad and Shazam. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, what's up with the
I'm telling
Bernstein
you, that
Bears?
existed. I don't care
I'm
what anyone.
99%
Yeah.
sure that was a thing, actually.
Yeah, the Bernstein Bears thing.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
changed.
It's Berenstain, I believe. Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, it was always spelled like the German way, Stein.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. It was.
Yeah.
I'm actually sure I have a couple books, actually.
No, you don't.
Well, I mean,
You might have, but then the weasel and
But
I'm
you
pretty
might have, but then
Yeah,
CERN,
Weasel and
CERN
CERN.
turned on the Hadron Collider,
and you
then
don't anymore.
now we don't anymore.
No.
That's
right.
right. Hey, once Trump gets his 6G, we won't remember anything anyway. So
No.
Dude,
Well, yeah, it's all
I
our-
saw that. I saw
guys
that
saw that?
tweet. I was
that
like,
tweet, like,
what?
5G or even
This guy's
6G.
getting wild.
yeah, Trump put out a tweet like demanding 6G because they want the U.S. to be like the technological forefront.
Yeah.
I'm
So
just
he-
gonna go ahead and
he's
stick my
demanding-
head in my microwave now.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
He's demanding 6G.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about that too. Actually, we were talking because I was mentioning that like I have a lot of friends who are hyper involved in the development of 5G, and even they have reservations about the potential dangers of it and are like, it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have to tell you probably is what makes me nervous.
And
because
these are not
even with the old, even with the old antenna arrays from like early 2000s, when we would work on them in the Navy, we carried popcorn kernels in our pocket.
Mhm.
And if they started popping, we were being exposed to too much radiation from those antenna arrays.
Well, yeah, and it's, I mean, the thing is, if you're right next to the antenna, that's one thing, because it's high enough up and everything. It's a fairly negligible, depending on the radius, because that's the way science works, right? Like, you far enough.
Well,
away,
I mean, it was an indicator of if there was something malfunctioning.
Right, but I mean, the issue is with 6G or with 6G. Jesus, damn you, Trump! With 5G, the issue is that the radius where it's safe might actually be like the size of a damn city,
right?
Before it's safe, and that's the concern: is what happens if we accidentally like microwave the brains of like 3/4 of the United States population.
Right.
Between 5G/6G smart meters and the chemicals in the water, we're fucked anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
We might as well have a good internet connection while we're sitting.
We
at the
won't
beach.
have to worry about gay frogs anymore. We'll just have spontaneously combusting frogs now.
Yeah, the thing about if Magneto could actually, we watched the thing if Magneto could actually pull out and did the calculations on the iron out of that guy's blood and the sheer level of electromagnetism actually required, and we're going through and stepping up and how much it would be, and it's like at like 100, it was like 100 megapascals or something of electromagnetic energy. Well, the guy isn't levitating, but he's probably feeling pretty sick. However, a frog nearby is levitating, and then if you get to like 200,
well, you got to remember that Mirage, or Mystique, sorry, she shot that guy's ass full of
with all the iron. The problem with iron is that even if it's elemental iron, when you inject it, iron really likes to bond with things in your body, and you now have to rip the iron away from those bonds, and that requires an enormous, actually enough electromagnetism that you would actually liquefy the guy's entire body into goo, and then the best you could probably do is just pull all of the goo that was magnetic out and not actually separate the iron yet.
Right.
What you would actually need is a magnetic field so intense you don't even need the iron out of his blood anymore, because you can pretty much just melt everything around you.
Right. Why don't you just hold up the iron in your blood and it'll just hold your whole body up?
Yeah, so
that's totally better than the goo boots you'd make for yourself out of that guy's
I'm just going to go ahead and stop this conversation. This, I know Andrew's talked about for hours, and go just look up Because Science.
Yeah, Because Science. If you haven't started watching the YouTube channel Because Science, you probably should, because it's fucking fantastic.
Dan, that didn't strike me as so funny until you repeated it.
Wait, what did you say? What did I miss?
Goo boots.
Goo boots.
Just the way it sounds is like fucking funny.
That sounds like the title of Rusty Bowers.
That's like when you're pissed off at your
Rusty Bowers and the Goo Boots.
That's like when you're pissed off at your wife and you don't want her to go out, so you nut in her shoes.
You guys, that's the name of our '90s ska band, Rusty Bowers and the Goo Boots.
Goo Boots. So many ska instruments. I need a couple trumpets. Sounds
like a weird foot fetish to me.
Rusty Bowers does sound like a sex move. It does.
Yeah.
The Rusty
Bowers.
Goo Boots.
It's like a fucking combination of like the rusty trombone and something else.
Apple bottom jeans and the boots with the goo. Yep. And
I think on
Rusty
that
bells.
Yeah,
I better kill this live stream.
Let's get off the air.
It's been episode 55. Anarchy, laughter, and Goo Boots.
I'm literally crying.
Goo Boots over and out.